Hello everyone, welcome to Azanoa podcast, where we keep things real. Today we have a special guest, Mr. Tan Kun San, a former Malaysian ambassador and a friend of mine. So I've invited him to talk about his life experience. So tell me, Kun San, can we start with your early days? What is it like pre-Merdeka?
We'll start from where life starts. I was born in 1944 during the Japanese occupation period of Malaya. In fact, my birth certificate, which is partly in Japanese, says that I was born in the year 2601. Which makes me ahead of my actual birth date by 646 years. That I was subsequently told was the Japanese year. But the birth certificate is still there. I feel tempted every time I make some application and I have to quote the birth certificate to say that I was born in 2601 and see what the officials will say. But that is a fact. When I was born, things were not as prevalent as now with food and luxuries of life, so to speak. I was told that I was brought up for the first 2 years on goat's milk, not cow's milk. We don't have cow's milk. There was too much
Sounds
demand.
smelly to me.
So I grew up, and after that period of having goat's milk for 2 years, I now don't like goat's milk. I hardly would take it. And that, I think, after 2 years, I've consumed enough in my life of goat's milk. My father has to have to cycle about 15 kilometers a day one way to get the milk, procure the milk, and come back and feed this little boy, at that point baby, every day. That has to be done, and I suppose I did not know what it was until this is told to me rather than my own experience. Then the other part of it is I grew up with using well water from the well. My hometown is Bukit Metarjam, a small village town at that period. Now is a huge town. Now is a big town, almost a suburban city. We use all the water we use at home were coming from a well just outside the house.
Everybody's like that?
Every household
Has a well?
I don't think at that point, at that period when I was growing up, the first 7-8 years, late 1945 to 50, 51, 52, there were any pipe water at all. So every house has got a pipe. And location of the town depends upon availability of well water. My house was quite nearby, about 300 meters from the river, so the water is always on the underground. We used to throw buckets down into the well and pull the bucket up with the water, and then use it, carry it inside the house in the quadrangle of the house. A couple of years later, technological progress, we start to mechanize the
Piping.
the piping period of the well.
Okay.
And we start to see mechanical part of it to bring the pail up.
Okay.
You have this, and
It wasn't manual anymore.
it's still manual. A couple of years later, 2-3 years later, somebody have thought of having a pump. So we have a pump. But it's easier. You use your leg or your hand to pump the thing, and it comes out. But it's still mechanical. And then electricity came about.
I'm just curious, don't you get sick if you drink well water?
I don't know whether I got sick because of that, but as a growing child, I was told I had gone through diphtheria and typhoid.
Okay.
So yes and no. I wouldn't put the blame on the water because that was our survival.
Probably cleaner from the bottom of the soil filtration, natural filtration. Yeah.
And that is another part. The third part is our toilets were then using the bucket system, which means that there is somebody who come and collect the faces in every other day or every day from the back and put it into his basket from our bucket, and then put a bucket back and everyone use it. There was no modern toilet of flushing. The concept doesn't appear at that point. And to have a toilet even within the remote area of the house because of the smell was quite a privilege. Many houses don't even have that. They have common toilets. With the bucket system. The kampung houses next to ours, I could see that. So that was what we do for our daily life. Cooking part of it, no gas stove, no electric stove.
Charcoal.
It was charcoal and wood. So we have to have a lot of wood to burn to cook a meal, and there was no refrigerator either. We have a ladder. Marketing has to be done every day because you cannot keep fresh food without a refrigerator. The refrigerator came in only about 1958, 59 after Merdeka. So it was life then was pleasant because we did not know, we had no comparison. Right now, if you reflect it back, then you think, oh, how poor fellow, how does he survive? But I think those days we didn't complain. It was part of our growing up. What was available.
Well, you communicate with the family more than today with your handphone.
So that's the
family bonding is better.
And then schooling, of course, first I was on a bicycle, sitting in the back with a household member, cycling me the 20 minutes to school. And progressively, when I was growing bigger, I said I don't want to sit on somebody's back, I want to walk. I walk for half an hour, somebody chaperone me and go to school, walking that way. And when I was still in upper primary, I think, the parents were more trusting than nobody needs to accompany us. So the few households jointly hire a tricycle rider, and three or four boys even sometimes will go on that tricycle meant for two passengers. And while we are there, two of us sit on the seat, and the other two sit on the floor where we put our legs. But boys being boys, again, no comparison. We thought it was fun. We do a little gambling sometimes, as on our way there, on our way back. And the way we gamble, we don't use money. We gamble rubber bands. We gamble the caps of
Coke bottle.
The Coke bottle. Not Coke. We don't have Coke. We have FNN at that time. Orange or Sasi. But then we collect those things and then we exchange. And sometimes bigger when we were provided with textbooks in school, we start to open the pages. That was our gambling means. We open the page. If I open the page 55, I have 10. If I open the page 56, I have 1, which means I lost. That's the way we play. And it keeps our time. We were very serious with it because we collect a whole bunch of rubber bands, and we were very happy about it. Life was simple.
Gambling was a culture at the time? Or?
I don't know whether it's a culture, but we enjoyed it.
I think food was more natural and more healthier. Today we've got all this packaged food everywhere.
We have to
natural food.
We have to bring. You bring our own food. Is always in a container and it's home cooked. But even then, there were a tuck shop in school, which sells quite cheap and fairly good food.
I haven't heard that word for a long time. Tuck shop. So tell me about your working years. What was it like?
I have various stages of my life in school as I passed from Standard 6 to Form 1, Form 3 to Form 4, Form 4 to Form 5 to Form 6, and Form 6 to University. At various stages of life is that ambition, you want to call it, I aspire to from standard 6 to Form 1. I think about it, and at that point, what do you want to be? You're already Form 1. We know that our office peon, what do you call it now, delivery man, but those days we call it peon. He has standard 6 qualifications, so we qualify for that, and we aspire, after all, it's an office job. And then Form 3, well, it's progressed. We have gone beyond the office boy's job. We look at the head office boy who has Form 3, the head peon.
Right.
Oh, we aspire to that again. I mean, it's a fair way of looking up to the elders, so to speak, and fair way of formulating your ambition. And by the time we pass Form 3, we're looking towards Form 5. We can become a teacher.
Okay.
So the ambition is, why not I become a teacher? And so some says, no, I'm not going to become a teacher, it's boring. But then you can become a clerk. A clerk is also respectable.
Is that university at the time? Or?
What do you mean?
You went to university? Or?
Then after that, you don't want to become a teacher, you don't want to become a clerk, or you look at it and say, oh, I'll go and join sixth form, and I finished my sixth form. I can go to technical college. I become a technician. And then you can also go to university, because university just started at that time. So off we go. We willy-nilly, we didn't know what it was. We went to university. By the time we are at university on second year, our head has become swollen a little, and we want to go higher. At that, we said, all right, I will join the police force and straight away become an ASP.
All right.
Or I will join the specialist forces for the military. I have some senior rank to go straight on, you see. And others who actually look at the career seriously said, no, the MCS is the best, the Malaysian Civil Service at that time. It is actually now called the PTD, the Perkhidmatan Takbir dan Diplomatic, I think. So most of us will aim ourselves there, except for those students who are doing a professional course like medicine or
there were vacancies?
Engineering.
Were there vacancies?
Those days again, I mean, my graduation year was less than 400. And my class, so to speak, that's that little class which we have with the subjects I do, was only 36. So
was it a mixed class at that time, or is it one race, or is it balanced?
It was all mixed. I mean, it's a multiracial class, and we even have foreigners with us. So, and our lecturers were, in fact, almost all, except for one or two, foreigners, actually. My lectures was, I have Americans, I have Icelandic, I have Japanese, I have Indians, I have British, I have Russian. So they were all, and of course, and the professor happened to be Malaysian. That's it, so it was fairly well mixed, I must say, and big creed and color was not something we are conscious about. We don't think about that, and whether we are speaking in English or Malay. In fact, most of the time we use what they call Bahasa Malay to communicate, which we are comfortable in.
Rojak,
because we are not conscious of it. Today there might be a restraint. People say, I will speak in my mother tongue, or deliberate. No, in those days we don't care. People call me China, I call them Baroa. It has no meaning beyond
it wasn't
affection.
Taken as a racist thing.
It's an affection. To be called those ways means you're very close to each other. So that's
some people might take it as racist,
but not then. I have not come across one.
You don't feel that way at that time.
They call me by worst name, devil, and dogs and cats or cows. I mean, we do each other all the time. So,
when did you enter the diplomatic corps? How did that happen?
After my graduation, I taught for a short while, about 9 months, and then in the meanwhile, I applied for the civil service job. Invariably, I was offered But at the interview, I did say that I wanted to join the Foreign Service. For whatever reason, it sounds good. It sounds glorious. We get overseas, So those of us who have a more adventurous mind says we want the Foreign Service. At that time, the demand to join the Foreign Service was not great. You ask, you get. In fact, on the
Really?
because
So good.
they were short of candidates who wants to join the Foreign Service.
All right.
They rather join the Home Service.
Okay.
If you're a Home Service graduate, the moment you join, you become an ADO, an Assistant District Officer. You're somebody. You're just number 2 in the district.
Oh, wow.
It's a very respectful job. And for those of us who are coming from the kampung, you hear of ADO, it's like the Agong coming to you,
Okay.
So that was life. So I joined the Foreign Service, 67. Then.
Is that your need to travel? Is that something you wanted to do when you were young?
I wanted to do, but not to travel. Living overseas through various posting, I think, has to be distinguished from like to travel. You travel means you want to go to visit London for 2 days, Amsterdam for 3 days, Moscow for 5 days, and you hop around.
Yeah.
That is not. I find that it's not my cup of tea. I never enjoy touring.
Yeah.
But
So this is
settling
an
down-
opportunity to travel also in a diplomatic, all right?
to travel in the sense of
In the sense of working and living overseas,
living
yeah.
overseas.
Yeah,
In the
an
sense of living
opportunity.
overseas, right?
Yeah.
Living is a different matter. It's certainly so,
Yeah.
but not packing the bags every other day and travel. No,
Okay.
I won't do. I have not acquired that and will not do that.
Okay.
The other aspect of the Foreign Service, you want to call it, is when there's a lot of sacrifice on our part. Actually, many of us who are in the service do not want to use the word that we sacrifice. It sounds so self-elevating. But actually, from our life, family life, there's a lot of sacrifice. The children goes to 5 school in 3 years or 2 years. The wife has to go to the market to buy things.
Were you married already at this time? Yeah.
When I joined, no.
No, okay.
But by the time I was posted, yes. In those days, again, the civil service paid us almost double our salary when we get married.
Oh,
So there was
it's encouraging you to
there
get
was a
married.
subtle encouragement.
Okay, right. Yeah.
and some of us actually even got married and asked our wife to stay back in her kampung for a while.
So did you get sent overseas immediately, or?
No. We get to headquarters for some sort of a on-the-job training for 1 to 3 years. But by the third year, most of us would have been posted one round overseas. Some go earlier, some go later, but within that period of time. My first job, which is very downhearted, was my first day of reporting for duty. That's 14th of September 1967. Upon reporting for duty at 9 o'clock, by 11:30 I was told that I must put on my jacket and whatever you have, dress properly with ties and everything, and go down and stand at the porch reception, waiting to receive the ambassador of Singapore at that time.
Okay. And who's the Prime Minister at this time?
That was Tunku Abdul Rahman.
Oh, not Tun Razak. Okay.
Yeah. But our chief Secretary General then was the Ghazali Shafi'i.
Okay.
So what happened is, here I am with my 2 other roommates pushing me on. You better go, you keep dress up well, make sure that all my dresses were perfect, ties were perfect, my shoes was also there. So walk out there and wait for the ambassador's car to arrive with a flag and what have you. And then as the car touched the gate, we can see the car, I was to walk down the steps. All these are brief, what I must do by steps. And then when the car parked in the porch, I'm supposed to open the door and tell him welcome, and that's it, one word. And he will good afternoon, same thing. And then lift him up the stairs and bring him to the lift. press the button, and off we go to the third floor, the third floor of the building. Walk him, the lift opens the door, we walk out, walk him to the Secretary General's room, and knock on the door politely, and open the door for him, and off he goes in with to shake hand and talk have a pleasantries with Secretary General. In the meantime, turn for a polite thank you to me, and that's my duty. And I have to wait there for the half an hour or whatever time they do, and they bring the ambassador down in the reverse order until he reach the car. Having done about 1 hour, 45 minutes to 1 hour of that duty, I came back to the laughter of my two colleagues. Said, that is your 16 years of training. That's what you do. You don't need to have studied to do that. And that was the first job.
All right. Okay.
But people don't realize that little job, we may laugh and we may scorn it. That's called protocol.
Okay.
If anything goes wrong with that, if let's say if I open the door and then shut it too quickly and put the ambassador's coat get caught, there will be a lot of trouble. It is almost a job that is it looks irrelevant, but one mistake and the
bad impression for the country. Right?
The relationship will be badly affected. So it's a very cautious job. You have to be very careful. That's not the only thing we have to learn table manners, how to eat, when to eat and what to eat. How do you eat first or your guests eat first? All this come into behavior, proper behavioral pattern, which is part of. To me, is an essential part of human relations, but more so in diplomacy.
Did you ever interact with the Prime Minister at that time? Did you have to look after Tun Razak?
I was here, so that's. If I'm here, I don't live overseas when they are visiting. Yes,
that's the time you interact with them.
We do that. So the interaction here, of course, certain meetings he attend and we attend. Yes.
So were you like a close-knit community in the diplomatic world, or were you trained to? Of course, you represent Malaysia at that time, right? So was there a bonding? Or?
The Malaysian Foreign Service. At least I can talk about that, and to a certain extent, even the ASEAN Foreign Service, vis-a-vis Malaysia together as a whole, they have a very strong sense of brotherhood, very strong sense of family. Somehow, over the years, we are in a ministry. We have 30 years or so, 25 to 30 years of service, and most of the time we are actually one person is in the North Pole, the other person is in the South Pole, but somehow the sense of brotherhood is there whenever we meet. There is a common factors that bound us together. And up to today, in fact, you ask me about my best friends. Best friends in far deeper than what you call casual friendship. I call it my best sense of brotherhood. They are all from the Foreign Service.
It's your life there.
I'm preempting your question. Of all colors and creed, of all races. We don't distinguish. I saw Muti or I saw Ahmad or I saw Asing. That brotherhood comes.
That's Malaysia for you, right?
So, and then with the Thais and Indonesians, to a certain extent, the Filipinos as well. We also have that sense of brotherhood among them because there's a lot of cross-posting and meetings. Those we meet very good lifelong friends with them. But as the ASEAN spirit developed, this spirit of their diplomats also built up, and it built up and sustained.
It must be difficult for your children, especially because you're always posting in different countries. So how does your children take it?
Oh, the children becomes a habit for them. If you stay too long in one place, they say, "When are we going to move again?" I mean, they get used to that.
They like it, I suppose. They have to adapt and learn to adapt. Otherwise, it's difficult, right?
But there is adaptation is one thing. There is also consistency, actually, for most of us, if not all other countries. They attend the same type of school wherever they are, the international school system. So they do have consistency in the structured lessoning, the lesson in the school, in the international school syllabus.
Yeah.
So we do provide them with some consistency.
So tell me about your first posting. How did it come about?
My first posting was after 2.5 years at home. By which time I was progressing beyond opening doors and taking the lift. Was to Tehran. At that time,
Wasn't Vietnam, was it?
no, it's Tehran.
Tehran. Okay.
Tehran.
Wow. What year is this?
I opened a mission in Tehran. That's 1970.
Wow. That's before the revolution. Then.
It was early 1970. I think it's about January or so.
Okay.
I have to fly from Kuala Lumpur to Bangkok, stop overnight. When Bangkok to New Delhi, stop overnight, and New Delhi to Kabul, Afghanistan.
Wow.
Stop overnight, and then the last leg of a 1 hour flight from Kabul to Tehran by Iran Air.
Oh.
There are two reasons for this. One is it was my first time air travel, and I took the opportunity to go the longest possible route. And secondly, those days airlines do not travel everywhere.
Yeah.
But
there was a direct flight, right? There was a.
there was no direct flight.
Oh, okay.
There was no direct flight, but there was flight from New Delhi to Iran.
Okay.
But I choose to go to Kabul as well. But there was also a customary practice among in a relationship between countries that we try to arrive at the host country in their national airlines.
Oh, okay.
That's why a 1 hour flight from Kabul was taken because of Iran Air at that point. So I was then leading the mission because we have no embassy before. So I started the embassy. So I went as leader of the of the team. And
the first Malaysian embassy in Iran. You started it.
So I started that. Now, I have how many colleagues? I think I have three other colleagues who accompanied me. One was the executive officer, who is an Indian. One was the secretary, the private secretary, who was a Eurasian from Malacca, and the third was a secretary who was a lady, a Malay. So we have all Malaysians there in that team.
Okay.
Which is amazing. I don't think they planned it. It's just a posting and you
So
get
happened
through.
to be, yeah.
So that was my little team of 4. We landed in Tehran. The first thing I landed in Tehran was, wow, it was snowing. First time in my life I ever seen
Tehran?
snow.
Oh, okay.
Tehran was a higher altitude, so they do snow.
They're surrounded by mountains, if I remember.
But that was not the only surprise. Then I see red buses, like London.
Wait. Okay.
So, and then when you get to the city, it was so amazing. I mean, Kuala Lumpur then was not there yet.
I was told that Iran was the Switzerland of Middle East. I was told.
At that moment of time, yes.
It was like that.
Yeah, the northern part of Iran was
very modern. I mean, they don't have religious extremists and all that at the time.
Modern, yes. Extremism is something you define extreme. I don't define extreme. I mean, it's better definition.
Okay.
Whether you're extreme.
The women were dressed openly and not covered.
No, they do cover themselves. They don't dress openly, but they don't open themselves in short.
Okay.
But they do dress properly, but they do wear the chador. The chador. But I found out that the chador actually had a purpose, has a geographical purpose to prevent dust from coming in.
Yeah.
Because when I meet some, as you walk the streets, so to speak, you go shopping, and some ladies who like to give you a smile, they open up the chador quite happily and they give you a smile with a mini skirt, no problem.
Mini skirt?
And then they cover up again. It's
My
okay.
God.
Those days mini skirt was fashionable.
Oh, really? Okay.
And they give you a good smile.
You're telling me Iran, I'm shocked,
So they give you a good smile and then they cover back.
Yeah. I've been there after the revolution, and people are all covered up. Yeah, everybody was covered up.
They covered up and don't open up.
Yeah.
This one, they open up for you.
Yeah.
But it was interesting. So we landed there and we started the embassy. The people were I won't call them initially friendly because they look upon us as a developing country, and they are.
They were
They are
higher
top,
up,
yeah.
obviously.
But we have to push them. We have to put them down to their level by what I call friendly relationship
You were
interactions.
saying that there were two different people in Iran. Yeah, can you
They're
explain that?
essentially two different
Types.
group of people: the northern Aryans and the southern, Pakistan,
Towards
Indian,
Pakistan,
the darker
Afghan,
ones, the darker one, Arab mixture.
Kurdish and all
So
that.
there are two distinctions, and very subtly one looks down on the other, very subtly, but not.
It's like a class system, maybe. Yeah?
It's not a class
okay.
system, except one happened to be richer than the other, I think. And they are richer because opportunities are given to them,
Yeah.
and they were the ruling class. So, but then that provide the genesis of the subsequent revolution.
So there was a big difference between the rich and poor.
Very much.
And the Shah never really cared for the poorer people. Is that the reason for the revolution? What do you think?
I wouldn't say the Shah do not care, because as a government, every government has to proclaim that they care.
Yeah, they have to. Yeah.
They have to proclaim that they care. So the do not care is an afterthought of those who were on the opposite side. But he did not do much in practical terms. In legislative terms, yes. But he was trying to secularize the state, not introduce theocracy into the state. So there's a contention there. He cared, but he wants to lift them up. He wanted to take them away from their faith, maybe, reduce their dependent on faith, and introduce the secular element so that they can progress and join the outer world.
Okay.
So that is caring is depend on how you look at it. Then.
Was Shah pro-Western? How are they?
To say pro-Western, I think is an understatement. He was fully Western.
Oh, okay. All right.
I mean, the American forces base were there.
Yeah.
He has his wife was educated in France.
Oh, okay.
Americans could do no wrong. All the military hardware was from America.
Okay.
So it was and that was how he stayed on the throne. Actually, the
Americans supported him.
The West needed him for the oil.
I see.
Iran was the second largest producer after Saudi.
Oh, really? Gosh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And large amount of oil in the south. So that, I think, was a geopolitical reason for the prominence of the Shah. But he went too far.
Yeah.
And then
but they were a rich country, and Tehran was the city was modern, and there was swimming pool in the houses.
Every house has a swimming pool.
Oh, okay. All right.
They
were very proud people, I suppose. They're proud people.
They were proud in the sense of they think of too much of themselves. If you talk about that sense of pride, yes, they are. But they were beginning to think that they were Europeans.
Okay.
And that is a mistake. So that was my first posting.
Okay.
Because of leading.
You were telling me about the
leading the small team. I for a few months until the arrival of the ambassador, I was flying the flag. Every time I get into the car, the flag flutters around. It was quite nice. There's a Cadillac at the time.
Oh, okay.
But while we rented the Cadillac to be our official car, waiting for our cars to come, and I was using the Cadillac as the official car everywhere I go. Young fellow, but nonetheless the flag flies. We engaged a local driver. He came along to work in the Cadillac. There was the wealth of Iran.
Oh, okay. All right.
So my driver came along to report to the office every day in a Cadillac of his own, and then take our official Cadillac and drives me. I don't know where to face from that, but that was Iran. It was fun to think of it.
You were telling me about the mosque in the south, yeah.
One of the most oldest and holiest mosque in Tehran was the one in the south, near to the bazaar.
Okay. South of Tehran, right?
It's in South Tehran.
Okay.
It's not south of Tehran, but south Tehran. It's a huge mosque. Whether it's religious sensitivities or not, the regime opened this up to tourists. Tourists can go inside the church. I mean,
Freely.
The mosque freely. They can take pictures. They can do. I mean, I personally went there a couple of times. I think the sacrosanct of the mosque is to a little bit, even in my mind, exceeded.
Okay.
And when Friday comes, the prayer time. I think that's everyone expects Muslims to attend to the mosque to pray. There were a huge number of faithful, local, the poorer ones, of course, who were praying from the outside, not the inside. And we could still walk into the inside to have a look as tourists. That, I think, was a bit overstretching, but it is part of this process of the Shah.
The Shah allowed it.
Government to modernize the state, to allow them to try to make their mind open. But I think
that's a backlash to.
I think it went a bit too far. So that was the observation for us. Of course, the bazaar, which is hundreds of years old, is always there, and you go in, if you're not careful, you can come out.
Have you ever met the Shah?
I did 2 occasions.
A formal function?
Formal function. He hardly speaks very much.
Okay.
He's a man who commands by being quiet.
Oh, really? Okay.
But I went as far as being able to snap portrait photograph of his empress.
Oh, okay.
With her permission, she said, okay.
She must be very beautiful.
Oh, she was pretty.
Really? Okay.
And in fact, I have my daughter named after her daughter.
Oh.
Her name was Farah.
All right.
Her daughter was named Farah Nas.
Okay.
And Farah Nas means Farah's darling, that's all.
Oh, okay.
Farah's child. So I had my daughter named Farah Nas.
That's nice. She knows that.
So today she goes around with the Iranian name.
Oh, okay. Good. Nice name. I like Farah. So, after Iran, where did you go? Tell me. I'd like to know about your experience.
Well, after Iran, I think on the rotation basis, I came back for 2 years, I think, 2.5 years. And then I went to London. Here was I think everyone considers a reward and a favor, and everyone desires to be in London. You know, I personally think I have no regret being in London. In fact, I'm very thankful that I have that opportunity to serve in London. It's a country that it's a city that everyone wants to talk about.
Everybody wants to go to London.
Everyone have been there or have to be there. You know, so to that extent, I was very grateful for posting. Whoever posted me there, I served 3 years.
Okay.
And because of the service today, I can pop in and out of London, drive car without a problem.
You had a diplomatic passport, right?
Then I have. Now I don't. But I've been following the rules. I can still drive, and I think it's a big advantage to be able to move around in London in your own car.
I wish I had a diplomatic passport. So, is it true that you can't touch people with diplomatic passport? Is that something that?
No. You are talking about diplomatic passport? No, strictly no. You are talking about diplomats assigned to the country? Yes. So if I have a diplomatic passport, I'm not posted to London.
Okay.
I don't get
privilege.
I don't get that privilege. I'm not covered by the convention.
Unless you're posted in London, you have a diplomatic passport. You have diplomatic immunity.
Then you have the immunity.
All right.
Other than that, if you have a diplomatic passport, but you just happen to visit London as a tourist, no immunity.
Okay.
You don't enjoy that immunity.
All right.
Your immunity is on assignment. So a lot of misunderstanding goes there. You know, a lot of people want to have diplomatic passport, but no. The only other diplomats that can have immunity in any country is one en route to a service of another country.
Okay.
Suppose I'm on the way to Washington.
Yeah.
I land in London with a diploma because I'm en route. That if you pre-inform the British and they agree to your transit, then you have the immunity in transit. But other than that, again, no. If you happen to be, I want to go one week shopping in London before I fly to Washington. No way.
No, okay.
That doesn't work.
Only when you're assigned.
Only when you're on duty, en
Okay.
route.
All right, got it.
So that the myth of popular myth of a passport will give you everything now.
So London was great. Yeah, fine. You enjoy yourself. Was there anything?
London was a good post, but it was not a working post at all. It's a protocol post, and I'm quite happy that I spent 2 years in the protocol department, opening doors and learning how to eat, because that's what London is all about. Because all our VIPs, all our ministers, all our colleagues, everyone wants to come to London, and they come to London if they are VIPs, to take care of them. If they are friends, you have to house them and feed them.
So you're a glorified waiter, I suppose.
But it was fun. At the end of the day, I have no regret on London. But if you ask me to settle in the UK, no, I won't. That's different.
So, other countries, that's a challenge to you?
Then, from London, the ministry decided that I deserve a reward to work now. So they post me to a very heavy, highly working post.
What's it?
That's what diplomacy is all about, actually. They post me to Vietnam just after the war.
Yeah, after the war?
I went in 77. The war finished in 75.
77, 75, that's still hot. It's still...
that was the ministry's way of saying, you have got 3 years of fun, enjoy London, beautiful. Now you get to work.
Oh my God.
Which is fair, I think.
I'm just curious to know, Vietnam after the war must be very...
we could still see the orange bomb. People are carrying the orange bomb. The
orange bomb, what's that?
The cluster bomb that the Americans use to bomb the Vietnamese. They use this cluster bomb and they throw hundreds of them.
Correct, I know it, yeah.
And some bomb didn't explode, we still have them.
And they're walking around with it?
Oh, it's diffused.
Okay, fine.
So you still have the cluster bombs.
Right.
And the what do you call, the roads were still not repaired, the tram was still not repaired.
The media portrayed Vietnam as Viet Cong going around shooting people. What was it like after the Americans ran off? What was it straight after, a few years after they left? Was there destruction? Was there imprisonment and people were tortured?
Who were tortured?
The pro-Americans?
No. That is, I think the pro-Americans would have gone out with Americans, most of them.
Okay.
The others, there were these boat people, of course. But boat people is a mixture of opportunism and, of course, some people who had earlier taken a wrong stand vis-a-vis the northern government.
They didn't kill them. They just chased them away.
I'm not too sure whether they killed anyone, but those who are properly tried and did betray the country,
were you in Saigon?
They were certainly punished. But as a whole, the Vietnamese had no time to take revenge on themselves. It's silly to revenge yourself. You re-educate, yes. You want to bring them back to your society, yes. But to kill a citizen, I don't think it makes sense. And no right-thinking government will do it en masse. The very extreme cases of...
So there was no revenge per se for...
I wouldn't say that, because I wouldn't know if there is a revenge. It's a huge thing. But I would think in good faith that any sensible government would not do that. Those who accuse them of doing it have never shown evidence. It's an accusation played by the power of the press. The press plays it out. But you read in the reporting, there's always alleged to be so, reliable sources. What are the facts? You must have the facts.
Did you see destruction in Saigon?
The destruction was for your eyes to see, and the bridges were sengeh. One of the things that you go into Hanoi is a left-hand drive country, I think. But the moment you come to the bridge, the one bridge connects the Red River towards the city. Your car goes to the right. No, goes to the left. It just drives the opposite way because the bridge was sengeh during the war. Too much traffic taking in things, and no empty lorries come out. So the bridge sengeh. So now, in the good Vietnamese thinking, at the war they can't build. Is to put traffic the other way, the heavy traffic coming in the other way, to balance the bridge. I don't know whether it balanced, but it was that way.
So what was the socialist communism in Vietnam at that time? How did you feel the impact? Was there the culture was there?
I think that question is a very loaded question, and a question that needs a lot of debate. Is that it's what they call ideological question. You mentioned the word communist. To the Western mind, we were brought up in a sense communist is bad.
Yeah.
But what is communism? We never thought about.
Yeah.
But to the Chinese mind and to the Russian mind, maybe to the Vietnamese mind, communism, the word communist literally means share produce.
Yes.
Share your
Sharing,
produce.
yeah.
What's wrong with sharing?
Nothing wrong with
That's why are you making it?
Western world propaganda?
No, I wouldn't want to blame. So I think
let's not go too much
when you want to talk about communism as an ideology, then one has to be very careful about this. The very fundamental word communist is share produce. 共产 in Chinese. It means I share your produce or you share my produce.
True.
In a poor society, in a village level society, that is what they always do. And that is how society begins.
I think there's a distinction between communism and socialism. Yeah? Socialism is more lighter, milder.
Ideological. There's democracy is also the same. Every man elect themselves like the Swiss do, or by colleges like the Americans do, and you can have more people voting for one man, less people voting for the other, and the one with less wins the election. Or is that democracy when you talk about majority?
Does it work?
So, whole world of debate, what we think biasly is a work of the press. Nothing more on that. So when I would beg not to discuss communism,
that's why I like,
on that basis.
I like to read between the lines and not just read, accept whatever is written in the press and media, because a lot of influence, depending on what side, you look at the facts and you will know the truth.
It's the media. It's the media play. Now you want to go back to Vietnam?
Yeah, let's go back. Okay, tell me.
So
what was communism like at that time?
How do you deal with the Vietnamese? The Vietnamese have, over the period of time, toughened up and resist the strongest of enemies. They could still play them. I think you have to admire that. Not purely the sense of courage, it's the sense of protecting their home, their territory, with whatever means they can. And you can't blame them for doing anything cruel, even if they do.
Are they like the Chinese or different?
They are. The roots are the same. I mean, until the French came, the writing was Chinese writing.
Oh, really? Okay.
And today, in the festival period, that Confucianist Buddhist festival, they still have their words and scroll in Chinese in their traditional Chinese calligraphy. You know? That's
where the northern Chinese influence is strong.
It is certainly a area of Chinese influence, culturally. Politically, they are the Chinese also won't touch them. The lessons learned over a period of time in history, they cannot be defeated. They are like the Koreans. They cannot be defeated.
Cannot. Real tough people.
Don't try. You dig yourself in. They have done the French. They have done the Americans. They have, from Mongolian time, done the Chinese. So, I think.
But the war must have changed them, made them hard people. Do you find that?
Here again, you're talking about war, as you and I understand in our period. The word war in the Vietnamese is a lifelong thing. Over generations, they have had war. You go to the Museum of War, they show you that they have hardly 1 century of peace in the last 2,000 years.
I see.
So war in Vietnam is almost their daily life. They have to defend themselves. You know, you go to the Museum of History in Hanoi. They tell you the various and the actual fighting periods with mainly those early days with the Chinese. Every now and then there was a war, but they have always resisted. Hardly ever conquered.
What about the Russians? They also played a role in the Russians.
This is modern times, You're talking about when during the Vietnam War period. They they do donate some things, hardware, military hardware, some infrastructure.
They're aligned to China anyway.
But they have the Russian support is constrained by the geographical non-proximity.
Okay.
Whereas the Chinese did supply them a lot of things, but again cautiously, because they don't. The Chinese also conscious of the fact of geopolitics so nearby. So both the supporters of the North Vietnamese and the supporters of the South Vietnamese, the Americans in this, each have their own national interest to take care of. They want to fight. They want to have their proxies to fight, but up to a point. Because both factions, the North and the South, were actually proxies of the other.
Of course, yeah. So that's why the war is there. So, did you feel? How do you feel about the people? Were they? Can you see the more the toughness in the people that they've gone through this terrible war?
One must look at the Vietnamese. They're very small, very short, but
they can fight.
They can't box you, but they endure tremendous hardship. And you're talking about even torture, they can endure. So how do you fight a person who is willing to do this?
Do you think, looking at them and having experienced that, do you think that they're up and coming economic
here again is
muscle?
Here is modern. You're talking about tomorrow's prospect. That is speculative. But from historical point of view, if the Vietnamese are given peace, they will be able to develop the economy very well. If they provide them peace.
So they are an industrial nation as well, like China.
They have never been an industrial nation in that sense.
They can be.
And you can't compare them with China because the size itself is different. The geography is different. Because of the size, the Chinese have its own market and opportunities and creativity. But they are as creative as Chinese. They are quite hardworking people. But they are mainly agricultural.
Okay. We're a bit pushed for time. I think can we move on to after Vietnam? Where did you go? I think you went to Europe, right?
After Vietnam, I came back.
Okay.
For now 3 years. But Vietnam taught me a very deep lesson, which still hangs on to me. How we don't have to have the pretensions of propriety that most of us do when we dress up in coat, talk the most nicest possible language to each other, and then only we can believe we can get along. Vietnamese taught me completely the other way around.
Right.
My first impression when I first then is from London. Remember, I came from London. All the three-piece coats and the several tailoring and everything was there. Nice expensive shoes and everything was there. And I go to Vietnam, landed there with this attire. The first thing my colleagues who were there received me had a good laugh. And they were all in simple t-shirts and some even with slippers, and they were happy. I said, how can you people dress in this form? They said, you wait, we're not talking. So that was Vietnam. They
even officially
everything is official. So the first call I make to the Foreign Office, I dress up well. But the head of department I received did not talk very much to me. Courteous, received, but no more. So I came back and self-analyzed. So then my colleagues were debriefing me. They said, the next meeting you just go in your white t-shirt, your white shirt. Take it out, put your trousers on, a blue or black or something. Don't nothing too smart. Don't match it.
Right.
And then you see, and that man become different. You are now talking to him at level.
Yes.
If you want to dress, he feels that you want to.
Of course.
Superior.
Yeah, far superior to him.
And he won't accept that.
Understand it. Yeah.
That is Vietnam. The toughness of Vietnam. They show you. So after that, I acquired the habit of being simple. And the problem is, I get posted back to Europe. And when I'm simple, I was criticized for being not caring for the host, not respecting the people I'm talking. So where do I go? So the conflict of culture. That brings.
That's what you learn about culture.
That brings diplomacy. You must adapt
to any situation.
You must adapt. You must.
That's what a diplomat is.
So that's what subsequently. That's what diplomacy is about. You study as much as you can about the country, and then their characteristics, their behavioral patterns. So in Vietnam, it taught me how to be simple and effective. You can be effective without having to put on your best attire, so to speak. And another thing in Vietnam I should mention is we don't buy petrol in liters or gallons. We buy petrol by tonnage.
What do you mean tonnage?
Tonnage. How much weight you want to buy?
For a car or what?
For a car.
Why can you buy 1 ton of petrol?
1 kilo, 2 kilo. They sell by weight.
Okay, right.
Not by liters.
Okay, fine.
I don't know why, but and most of us don't have cars in Vietnam because there was a restriction for us to travel from the
motorbikes and
from the center. Bicycles. We have bicycles, and there are some ambassadors who even fly their flag on the bicycle.
Did they, after the war, did they hate the Americans? I mean, they were really, you don't see any Europeans in Vietnam at that time? People are afraid.
No, they have. The Scandinavian countries were helping them all along. So the relationship was kept. The Scandinavian officials and embassies and this government back agencies were all very actively helping to build. So they were welcome. They were having very friendly gestures to them. So they don't classify European as a group, countries. Initially, of course, they play. They had reservations about Americans, or a natural thing. But the Vietnamese are very practical people because they have put a barrier. I will fight you. So don't try to
don't mess with them.
Don't outsmart me. If you don't outsmart me, I'm your friend. I can be friendly. I think that is how they overcome it. Even now, if I talk about contemporary times, they're developing relationship in America is not that bad.
Interesting. You get the chance to travel around the world. I might travel, but posted around the world, and to get to feel the culture, which none of us get the chance, and we just cooped out in our own place, and I think it makes you a different person in a way.
No.
No.
No. Here again, it is very hard to prepare yourself to live in a foreign country. It is not something you pack your bag and go and live there. I think you wouldn't enjoy it because then you will be having your own, introducing your own practices and culture, and that fellow opens his window in the morning. You want to shut your window. You have differences, and you must tune your mind to a bit meet halfway, so to speak, to enjoy for living in a different environment. If you want to carry on, and most of us want to do that, I must eat only with my egg must be made in this way or something, and then I go there, they only in the morning they can only fry eggs. You don't want it. So you have to have that adaptation to be able to enjoy your stay. I personally is quite open about how to live in an environment. When I'm in Poland, I take vodka. I mean, more than that, they love vodka, so I take vodka.
In Rome, you have to do what Romans do.
In a more refined area in Austria, they like to take the liqueur thing, little cups, and you
schnapps.
Schnapps. So you take schnapps. You can't say no, I want vodka. You put them offhand. And if you are in Britain, they prefer the Scotch. So there you go. I'm not talking about with drinks all the time. I mean, give an example. You want in Britain you take steak, or you prefer the roast beef. They prefer the roast beef, and sometimes you just accommodate the roast beef.
So your next posting was Europe.
The next 3 postings were Europe.
Okay.
Which I spent 15 years.
Wow.
In total.
That's Poland.
There's Poland where I reside. There's Austria, that last post.
And Geneva, because I visited you.
And Geneva when
we went skiing together.
And Geneva but Geneva is not a diplomatic, bilateral diplomatic post. It's a UN post.
Oh, okay.
Because it's not a capital.
That's the first time I learned how to ski with you.
Yeah. I enjoyed myself there as well.
Yeah.
But that was a UN post.
Yeah.
It's like Austria is a European capitals of the UN.
Yeah, tell me, you get involved with UN a lot? I mean,
Geneva is full-time UN.
All right.
It's a full-time United Nations work, but there's specialization in trade, health, labor, and sprinkling of other agencies.
So
and in Austria, it's the same thing. It's technical, scientific and technical.
So is the United Nations true to its cause? I mean, it's really doing its job to police the world?
This is a question that should be posed to New York.
Okay.
Because, as I said, they specialize. New York has been very political.
Okay.
All the political matters are settled in New York. Geneva is trade. Austria is technology and science.
Okay. All right.
Vienna. So but of course we look at it together. When you're having a trade meeting in Geneva, you can't ignore what is happening in New York.
Yeah, right.
But
there's more political.
Basically, it is focused differently. The organizations that you are assigned to is different.
So it's developing trade in world networking,
like the WTO.
Right.
Then that becomes a field of Geneva. But here again, if you cannot ignore that fact that they have to carry the political baggage along with them when they negotiate. You have to be conscious of it.
Okay.
But New York is where the trouble is settled or cook.
Okay, right. So I mean, human it's normal to make mistakes and making things. Ideology of United Nations is it's there, but because of human, it's not perfect. Huh?
It is not perfect. In fact, in hindsight, you see the structure of the UN today with the vetoes in the Security Council. It is domineering. There are big powers and all. At the same time, you take away that, it has no effect.
Okay.
The big powers then will take the opportunity they can't veto. They will act because they have the power to act. So either this or that. I think it's better to let them keep the veto so that they can disagree peacefully rather than without the veto and they go and misbehave outside.
So tell me, what's Poland like now? That was your last long posting, right?
I have two aspects of Poland. I went to Poland when the Soviet Union was still intact.
Okay.
That is the Poland with the Soviet Union, the Warsaw Pact identity. And then by the time I left, 91, that is 2 years after the breakdown of the Soviet Union, that Poland was so-called freed from Soviet dominance.
Oh, okay.
So that is two sides to Poland. The first side is they were very cynical.
Oh, okay.
They can't get away from the Soviets at that point. The Warsaw Pact was quite intact at that time. So they were literally what you consider themselves communist or socialist country. So on the surface, it's a one-party rule.
Okay.
But the Poles actually cannot be ruled.
Right, really? Okay.
So they do a bit of here and there, poke here and there, do a little bit of a...
People like to invade Poland, I don't know.
Whatever you tell the Poles to do, don't expect them to follow.
Okay.
I mean, that's Polish character.
Yeah.
They will do it their way. And that maintains their nationality, their national survival, actually.
They're hardworking people, I know.
They're very enterprising. The Polish society and country itself is very agriculturally very strong. Not technology, but these mechanical products the factories are very, very up to date.
You were there during the Berlin Wall?
That is Germany.
Yeah.
East Germany, yeah.
Okay.
Again, the Berlin, I helped to chip some pieces out of the wall.
That's historical.
On that day in
Really?
in 89, I happened to be in
Wow.
Berlin.
Okay.
I was living in Poland, Warsaw. It's a 2 or 3 hour drive.
Okay.
I heard something was going to happen, so I took a drive and went to East Germany, stayed there, and then crossed to West Berlin and joined the shipping.
Oh, it's historical.
And then
day.
took the train back, actually.
Something to remember by.
Yes.
Hope you still have the stone or rock.
Those experiences were quite good. I was right in the midst of the Czech revolt in the October of 89 sometime. You know, the Czech also has a transformation.
Right.
You know, the Czech has a big square, Wasala Square or something around it. And that people just refuse to move. They want the government to resign. And the government have the troops with them. So the troops can never shoot the masses of people or the government surrender. So what do? If you are the president or prime minister at the time, you are standing up there, you have your troops, you can fight,
All right.
but the people are down there, what do?
You can't shoot the people.
You can.
You can?
But can you have enough bullets to kill all?
No.
You can shoot, of course.
Yeah.
But can you kill all?
No.
So, that was the tense moment.
Okay.
And all the roads were blocked. And we who went inside couldn't get out either.
They were pro-communism, right?
No, again, they was not pro or against. They were against the government at the time.
Okay.
Which is sympathetic to the Russians, of course.
Okay. All right.
So finally the government resigned. And then things settled. People start to celebrate instead of protesting from the square. But that was Czech. That was a good experience, that one. Right in the midst. I should not be there. It's a high risk thing. But I happened
You
to be
went there? Okay. Yeah.
But
You saw the people
I was
revolting.
part of the team.
Oh my
part of the
God.
crowd.
Oh dear. Don't you think it's a risky job to be a diplomat? Yeah.
Almost uncalled for,
Yeah.
but that gives us the advantage of a first-hand experience of what can transform despite all the earlier pleasantries. I was right in the middle of it. I happened to be there.
Ukraine is nearby. I mean,
What?
Ukraine.
Ukraine was different. Ukraine has always been under the Soviet.
Do you understand what's going on in Ukraine with the war?
Not the present day Ukraine. I've retired 30 years.
Okay,
yeah.
right.
But historically, Ukraine has always been bending to the Soviet Union.
Yeah, and they speak Russian, and they're Russian people, really.
I
right?
wouldn't call it a satellite state,
Yeah.
but in fact, historically, it is a satellite state.
Okay.
You know, so
To Russia.
to Russia,
Yeah.
like relating back to China, like there are many ministers and prime ministers of China during the period of the Yuan dynasty, and there are Tibetans,
Oh.
and therefore to say whether Tibet belongs to China or not, does it count when you have your own men leading? You know? So there are many leaderships in Ukraine who are in Russia who are Ukrainians. So they are almost treated like a family. The same thing with China. The Tibetan Kublai Khan's Chamberlain was Tibetan.
I look at Ukraine as the same thing. It's the Russian people there.
And I think the language is almost about the same.
I'm a bit confused reading all kinds of media about pro-Russian, pro-Western. We are caught in the middle of that
We
politics.
are caught in media confusion.
Yeah.
Because media
Where's the truth?
The truth is from the days of the Tsars, the Ukrainians has always served the Russian monarchy
I see.
in senior posts.
Right.
They've always have an influence, but they were not the Shah, so to speak. That's about it. But they serve the dynasties.
Yeah, the way it looks as though people in Ukraine are all Ukrainian and not even Russian, but that's not true.
Not true, and totally not true.
So there's about 50% of Russians living there as well.
And Russian descent. But beyond
and
that,
pro-Russian as well. Yeah.
Those days at the UN voting. Before the
we don't want to go into the argument of Ukraine because it's quite sensitive. But
the Soviet Union.
The facts are there.
No, we said the Soviet Union has 3 votes in the UN. Shut the box. And you open up, there's at least 3 there.
Oh, okay.
There's one from Moscow, Soviet Union. There's one from Belarus, taken for granted they would agree to whatever the
Okay,
Russians.
got it.
And the other one is Ukraine.
Oh, okay.
So in the Soviet period, UN vote, Russian kept 3. Americans, of course, kept a few also.
I see. That's the
So
sensitivity.
you're talking about Russia and Ukraine. Let's put it that way. They were as binding as that.
There's a family.
And now you want to
It's like
disturb it.
Sabah and Sabah and
And now
Malaysia.
you want to disturb it.
Yeah,
How do you disturb it? I won't call it a colony, but it is. But Russia is not a colony. It's a country. It is recognized by the world as a country.
Yeah, it's not like Syria and Iraq to Russia. These are they are totally different people.
These people.
But they are the same people, same stock, right? That fact you cannot run away. But that fact that the people are Russians as well, mixed up.
And why
So-
did Russia agree to separate identity or what they would consider their own? Why?
Yeah,
They've got 3 votes in the UN.
I see. Okay, all right.
So that is geopolitics.
That's why they're so sensitive about Ukraine.
Yeah.
And
It's
sometimes
there.
it's good to just think beyond. Whatever the politics is very hard to put it aside, but you can only go by the facts. That who are Ukrainian? They're not Americans, definitely not Europeans. So something to think about. Yeah. So I don't want to go into the argument because a lot of people
No,
are sensitive.
they were the same stock. But of course, the Ukrainian, there is a bunch of what they call native Ukrainians who come from the southern Ural area.
All right.
Ural,
They're different to Euro.
They are the same. They're the same.
Okay.
You know, one of the hordes of the Mongols in the 11th century settled there.
Oh, okay.
I think there was one that gets settled in Baghdad, and there's one that settled somewhere in between Kazakhstan area, and one sub-tribe went to India to the Sultanate of Delhi. Is called Mughal.
Okay.
Mughal is Mongol,
All right.
and another one, the Golden Hordes, get to the north,
Oh, okay.
and that area has got this group of people.
Good son, we're really short of time. Otherwise, it's going to go on forever. Kun San is also writing a book on Chinese history, right?
I have written a book on Chinese history.
Right. And I believe this book is just. Tell me about this book.
It's a novel.
Novel, okay. Just have a look.
It's based on a story of Chinese immigrants
All right.
to Malaysia.
Dream of Our Ancestor. That's the title of this book. So, tell me about this book. It's dedicated to who, really?
It's dedicated to the posterity of immigrants.
Okay.
Irrespective, the subject is of Chinese immigrants, because I just take as an example, but I think the behavioral patterns are all
For all race.
will be applicable. The stories therein told.
They came here with a dream to go back to China, you were saying?
They came back to earn a fortune, to earn their life earnings, so that they can return and live comfortably. I think that is the aspiration of all migrants. You're poor, you come. Here's a land of opportunity.
Yes.
You want to make money, and what do you want to do with the money? You want to live comfortably.
Yeah.
And where can you live comfortably? When the time you sail to here, you don't know this land. How can be sure that this is comfortable? You always dream of your home. So you come and work and go home. That is always been the dream of any, to me, and any migrants would do the same.
In the early days, obviously. But times have changed.
But over time, you change, you know.
So do you believe they still dream of going back to China?
They are mostly dead. the original, the first generation.
All right. So the second, third generation is totally different.
As far as the Chinese groups are concerned, the father always passes it to the son. That dream. Don't forget. Fulfill my wishes.
Correct. Yeah.
That's part of the concept of filial piety, obedience.
All right.
And then the son will pass it to the grandson. The same thing, up to 5 generations.
So do they still feel?
The obligation lies to 5 generations.
So do they still feel that China is their homeland? That's their dream to go back to until today?
Well, from actual personal experience, there are people who carry on these dreams.
They are?
You know
Okay.
This is talking a bit out. The old AMA system, the maid, the Chinese maid that wear white and black dress,
Yeah, right.
very faithful servants.
Okay.
All of them have dreams of that, and many of them do return at their old age.
Even at their old age. What about the new generation?
This,
I mean, the Baba Nyonyas. and-
this,
yeah.
this group,
Yeah.
this group of amas are spinsters.
Oh,
They
okay.
take the vow of spinsterhood before they come to serve.
Okay.
That is that group. And talking to them, I've seen them actually. They do go back.
Oh.
That group.
They must be old.
But by the time they can't work, they go
So
back.
what about their children?
They are spinsters.
Okay.
They don't have
Oh,
children.
okay, fine. No, what about the other generations?
The other Chinese,
the younger generation Chinese.
the others
I don't feel they want to go back to China.
The others are the others are rooted here because of family. It's reverse because
Yeah.
they have families. They are rooted.
Right.
But this one has no family, so they go back.
I understand that, but the dream to go back to China is no more, I think, yeah? This is just history, right?
It is sentimental.
Yeah.
I think they do hold, but I said the Chinese hold it for 5 generations. You know, then they block it. No more.
Well, this is another story to tell, to talk about. So anyway, Kun San has written 2 books. One on Chinese history, that is your interest, and this one is about Dream of Our Ancestor. So I'll post it in the comments, and if you're interested to read about it, I think it's available at MPH, right?
Not
So-
MPH.
Yeah, we'll put the link anyway. Finally, before we close, tell me, after being a diplomat all these years, what do you feel you've achieved all this time?
I'm happy to have done the job quite successfully, if I can judge by myself. In the sense that I managed to go through the various promotional grades and reach a grade of what I aspire, head of a mission.
Yeah.
Having done that for over 10 years
Okay.
as head of mission, I think I fulfilled my duty and my calling, if you want to call it. And then I have decided to retire and take an early retirement, actually at 51.
Okay.
And I have also another in old age. So I have an aspiration for old age to live a contented life without all the frills of modernity, in fact. But I don't want the well water. I protect the.
So why did you retire early in the first place? Why are you retiring?
That's why I say I want to live a quiet and contented life and pursue my second hobby,
Okay.
well, my indulgence,
Which is?
writing.
Oh, okay. Right.
So I last 20 years I have taken a lot of time of mine to pursue this. Writing takes a long time, but it is very fulfilling when you accomplish it. So one book takes 3 to 4 years to produce. My history of China took me 8 years, but it's fulfilling.
Yeah.
And I don't have to be looking at anything. I just write with me and the computer. Or
Understand.
the earlier books, I don't even have a computer. I just me and my sketchbooks. You know.
Great. Yeah, you're already 79, so I think hopefully this podcast will drive a message to everybody that
The brain will go on if you can keep it going. That's important. The brain keeps it going. The brains will go on. If you stop, it stops.
Kun San doesn't look 79, so what keeps you going?
Pardon?
What keeps you going?
Well, but some of my friends tells me to keep you going. Say you're 21 and with 58 years of experience, and that's how you keep it going.
Okay, good. So with that, we're going to close this. It's been quite a long interview, enjoyable interview, and very interesting man, a man with many experience and a lot of learning today. So before I close this, just don't forget to to subscribe to my channel, and hit the notification bell. You will help us to grow. I am a one-man show, so I need all your support. Do remember to subscribe. And with that, I can say just keep it real with Azanoa. Right? Cheers. Thank you very much. Thanks.